Hello and welcome to the Budget Timekeeper and welcome to something different today. So, right in front of me, I have three watches, and these watches belong to my father. These are my father's watches. Now, he doesn't wear watches these days, but I do remember him wearing these a lot, especially these two. These days, he's in his 70s now, so he just has a smartwatch which he picks up in the morning when he goes for his walk. It helps him keep track of certain things. So yeah, that's all he uses these days. So these three watches, in fact, all of these watches were just sitting around here and there in the boxes and cupboards. So I decided to get them out and look after them basically. So I went to the shopkeeper and got batteries in these two. These two are quartz watches. This is an automatic, and these are all quite old watches. I remember him actually when he bought this one. My guess is 1991, maybe 92. I was like 10 years old or something at the time. So we were in Saudi Arabia back then, and I think my mother had gifted this to him. So basically, she had saved up money and gave him the money and said, "Go and buy a nice watch." And I remember like we were sitting with my mother, and my father went with one of my uncles, like his cousins, and picked this one. So this was quite an expensive watch back in the day. This is from a brand called LaSalle. I don't know much about the brand. I believe it's either a Seiko sub brand or it uses Seiko quartz movements or whatever. But it is a very slim watch. That was the main selling point of this. You can see how slim it is. In fact, I should just get the calipers and show it to you. All right, so let's see how thin this is, because I'm guessing this is probably like 8 millimeters. Wow, 5.8. Yeah, 6. Let's call it 6 millimeters. That is one of the thinnest watches I've seen. So that was the selling point, and let's just see the dimensions, because these are older style watches, so they will be small compared to modern watches. So with the crown, we are looking at 34. So I mean, with the style of bracelet, it's not technically a. It is an integrated, I guess. So I could say about 46. Could say lug to lug. Again, it's not exact as compared to other watches. So yeah, so this is from the early 90s, probably somewhere in the late 80s, the design. And I do remember him wearing these watches in the 90s. This one in the 90s. Of course, back then people were not buying as many watches as I am now. I also remember him buying a few watches and just gifting them to people. Like I remember he bought a watch once and he came home. This is when we were in Saudi Arabia. And one of my uncles, my father's cousins, he was traveling to India the same day. And he said, "Oh, I forgot to buy a watch to take home." So my father just took off his watch and gave it to him. So that sort of thing used to happen quite a lot. So a lot of watches he gave away. I think he gave away like a Ricoh watch to one of my uncles again. So quite a few watches he just gave them away. But these are the watches that he used himself, and they're still here. They're lying around, so I decided to check them and get the batteries changed and keep them with me for safekeeping since he's not using them. Now, of course, this one here is a Rado, again an original one. This is from the 80s. I as I'm trying to think as far back as I can remember. I saw him wearing this one. So, um, okay, earliest memories I have is like when I was 7, 8 years old, and I think he had this on his wrist. So again, comfortably over 30, 35 years old. This was a set, so there was a ladies' watch as well for my mother. Now my mother doesn't care for watches, doesn't pair watches. So that watch is with my sister, who's just keeping it as well, because they are not wearing watches these days. So yeah, Rado Quartz Diastar model. It's not the famous sort of oval shaped one that everybody sees a lot. But yeah, again, another interesting watch. And let's see how wide this is, because this of course is more of a rectangular shape. Only 30. I thought it looked bigger. And thickness is 8. So I guess back in those days, the selling point of the quartz watches was how thin they are compared to automatics. Now, speaking of automatics, this is one of the oldest watches here. This was given to my father by his older brother, my uncle. Now, my uncle back then, he was into watches. He had a small watch shop as well. So sadly, my uncle has passed away a while ago. But he was also in Saudi Arabia. So when my father went to Saudi Arabia, he gifted him this watch. And he told him about how legendary this brand is, and it's a Swiss automatic and stuff like that. This is by the company Buren. Now, I don't think Buren is around anymore, but they were part of the Dirty Dozen. If you've heard of the Dirty Dozen watches, these were 12 watches made for the military personnel, the British military personnel, and they were the field watches. So Buren was also one of the companies that made one of those. So yeah, that's how I know about this brand, but I don't really know much else. I think they went under in the 70s during the Quartz Revolution, that's it. But yeah, another beautiful looking watch. This is comfortably 50 years old, because again, my father went to Saudi Arabia in the 70s, late 70s. And if you got it back then, this watch was a few years old back then, so it's comfortably 50 years old. Now, he hasn't worn this a lot, probably because of like the hype, or maybe he doesn't like the leather straps, because I've only seen him wear these ones with the metal bracelets. So yeah, I got a new bracelet installed on this one. This is the original one, obviously was sold. I've kept it in like a box because the buckle had the original Buren engraved on it. But yeah, another great watch, and as you can see, still working perfectly. I don't even think it's ever been serviced or anything. Of course, it's showing signs of age and one or two marks on the glass, which is like a domed acrylic, as you can see. And also one or two of the indices seem to have fallen off, but I don't mind. It looks pretty good, and it's got that classic cushion shape. And yeah, I think overall it's a fantastic looking watch. The date window doesn't seem to have like a position, so you have to go through the whole thing. So I didn't bother doing that because I don't plan on wearing it right now. I just kept them for safekeeping. Yeah, I just got a cheap strap fitted to this. I think this color works well as well. So yeah, I just wanted to make a different style video. Classic watches, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And yeah, all of them working perfectly. Of course, these are more expensive watches. The equivalent today would be quite expensive. I would say around 50,000 at least in terms of pricing, current pricing. So yeah, really happy to see all these here and still working. So I may even try them. I actually wore this once, a little bit here and there. I remember even in the 90s, when I was in school, I wore this for a few days to school. But yeah, I never tried on these ones. He's not wearing them, of course, as you saw, classic proportions. In fact, let me check the size of this. This is a little bigger for a watch from this era, I feel. So with the crown, 35. I actually felt bigger. Without the crown, 32, 33 roughly. Yeah, these are not normal proportions, so it's hard to see. Yeah, we're looking at 33, but somehow it feels bigger. Strange. Maybe it's the cushion shape. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you still have some old watches apart from HMTs? I mean, we all have HMTs now. But yeah, these are genuine old watches, and you can see the quality based on how long they've been around and how well they're still going. Anyway, hopefully this was fun. Thank you for watching. See you next time.